Hey guys, I wanted to share a quick rundown about what's happening in terms of the short-term rental regulation changes. I know this is a hot topic. I know you've probably done your own research on it. This is not going to be the be-all, end-all of what you need to know. This is a summary of the changes that are happening and the information that I've got from reading the documents and talking to the cities around here in the Okanagan. So the changes are happening on two different fronts, both at the city level and at the provincial level. Provincially, the regulation change is that unless the home is your primary residence, you can no longer use it as a short-term rental. So anybody that bought a condo or a second house that they were putting up on the short-term rental market, that is no longer allowed. However, if you live in the property as your primary residence, you can short-term rent either the suite, the carriage house, rooms within that house. You can still continue to do that. It just has to be your primary residence. They define primary residence as the place you occupy for more than 50% of the year. And according to what I read, it doesn't actually have to be consecutively. So that's kind of interesting. There could be a play there where you live there and then don't live there, and maybe that can get you around the regulations. However, you have to also be aware of the city regulations around short-term rentals. So what I mean by that is Kelowna is actually being more restrictive. The province is allowing you to use your primary residence or the property that you reside for the majority of the year as a short-term rental. The city of Kelowna is not allowing that. So to be fair to the city of Kelowna, you were never allowed to use a suite or a carriage house as a short-term rental, but they are taking it that extra step where even if you were renting rooms within your house, or if you lived in a property for 9 months and you wanted to short-term for a period of time in the off season, both of those are no longer going to be allowed with what the city of Kelowna is planning to do. West Kelowna trends much more similarly with what the province is doing. Historically, you have been allowed to, so long as they were legal and you pulled your business license, you were allowed to short-term rental a suite or a carriage house, but the property had to be your primary residence. Lake Country trends more similarly with Kelowna. You could not short-term rental a suite or carriage house, and we imagine, although she couldn't comment when I talked to this person at the city, I imagine that they're going to trend more similarly with what Kelowna is doing because historically they have done that. Some exceptions to all of this: Westbank First Nations land. That's not governed by the province, which means these provincial regulation changes are not taking effect there. There's 4 communities that I know of on Westbank First Nations land that do currently allow for short-term rentals, and according to the person I talked to at WFN, they will continue to allow for short-term rentals into the future. They are drafting a new land use law that's coming into effect in 2025. However, when I talked to the person again at WFN, she said they don't plan to use that law to restrict short-term rentals. They plan to continue to allow what they currently allow. Other exemptions for this are communities whose population is less than 10,000. They would be exempt from the provincial regulation changes. Also, communities that are over 10,000 but have a vacancy rate of 3% or greater, they can apply for an exemption from the short-term rental changes being imposed by the provincial government. So that would allow them to still be able to offer short-term rentals if they apply for this exemption from the province. Some other exemptions are the ski hills, Big White, Silver Star. They are exempt, so you can continue to use your recreational properties up there as a short-term rental. Timeshares, communities where you cannot live there full time based on title charges, those will continue to be allowed to rent as a short-term rental. And lastly, there are 14 communities around BC that are designated as resort communities like Golden, where the provincial regulations will not take effect. Okay, so that's a quick summary of the changes that we're seeing both on the provincial level and then more locally here in Kelowna with what the different municipalities plan to do. I have a lot more information than this. If you want to know more, reach out to me. Other than that, stay tuned, and I'm going to keep continuing to put out more content about Okanagan real estate. Thanks for watching.